The red lights flashed across the control room of the space station. Commander Zethkara lifted his long reptilian head from the sensor screen. His yellow eyes grew wide with fear. The message on his screen made his blood run cold. Warning, A. Human warship has entered the sector. Zethkara stared at the words. This was impossible. Humans had been dead for 300 years. The hegemony had made sure of that. They had burned every human world until nothing was left but dust and... Ash, sir? Asked his second officer, a blue-skinned female named Vera. What should we do? Zethkara did not answer right away. He checked the sensors again. There it was on the long-range scan. A massive ship unlike anything he had ever seen. It was dark and angular, with weapon ports along its sides. The ship was huge, bigger than most Federation battleships. Get me Admiral Vyses, Zethkara said. His voice shook as he spoke. Tell her we have a problem. Far away, in the black space between stars, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship. The used Defiance was humanity's greatest creation. Built in secret over many decades, it was the last hope of his people. Morrison was a tall man, with gray hair and hard blue eyes. He wore a simple blue uniform with captain's stripes on his shoulders. Scars covered his hands from years of hard work. He had spent his whole life preparing for this moment. Status report, Morrison said to his crew. All systems are working perfectly, sir, replied Commander Lisa Grant. She was Morrison's second in command, a smart woman with short brown hair. The quantum engines are running at full power. Good, Morrison said. He looked out the window. At the stars ahead. After 300 years, we're finally going home. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of computers. Morrison's crew knew how important this mission was. They were the children and grandchildren of survivors. Their families had escaped Earth just before the hegemony attacked. Lieutenant Amy Barnes sat at the communications station. She was young, maybe 25, with blonde hair tied back in a ponytail. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. Sir, I'm picking up Federation signals, she said. They know we're here. Morrison nodded. Open a channel to all frequencies. Amy's hands danced over her controls. Channel open, sir. Morrison took a deep breath. These words would change everything. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Defiance. We have returned. On the Federation station, Zethkara heard the transmission. His blood turned to ice. The voice was calm and strong. It was definitely human. Impossible, whispered Vera. They're all dead. Apparently not, Zethkara said. He had been just a young soldier when the humans were destroyed. He remembered. The stories the older officers told. Humans were dangerous. They fought like wild animals when cornered. Sir, Admiral Vyses is on the communication channel, announced another officer. Admiral Vyses appeared on the main screen. She was an elegant ethereal with pale blue skin and large silver eyes. Her species was known for being wise and peaceful. Commander Zethkara, she said, I received your message. Are you certain this is a human ship? Yes, Admiral. The ship is broadcasting human identification codes. And we just heard from their captain. Admiral Vyses was quiet for a long moment. This changes everything. Keep watching them, but do not attack. I'm sending a diplomatic team. Meanwhile, deep in the Defiance, Chief Engineer Ryan Clark worked. In the engine room, the quantum cores hummed with power beyond anything the galaxy had seen. Ryan was a big man with calloused hands and oil stains on his uniform. How are the engines holding up? Asked his assistant, a young man named Pete. Perfect. Ryan said with pride. These babies can outrun anything in the galaxy. The aliens have no idea what we're capable of. Ryan had helped design these engines. While the rest of the galaxy used old fusion drives, Humans had developed quantum technology. It made their ship faster and more powerful than anything else. In space back on the bridge, Morrison studied the tactical display. He could see Federation ships moving toward them. Some were from species he recognized. Others were new. "Sir, we're getting multiple signals," Amy reported. "The ethereals want to talk. The Vorthik are calling for their military. And the hegemony, double quotes." She paused. "The hegemony is mobilizing their fleet." Morrison's jaw tightened. The hegemony. The ones who had destroyed Earth. The ones who had tried to wipe out every human in the galaxy. He had waited his whole life for this moment. "Let them come," Morrison said quietly. "It's time they learned that you can't kill an idea. And the idea of human freedom is very much alive." Lisa Grant checked her weapons console. "All systems ready, Captain. We have full power to shields and weapons." Morrison nodded. He knew this moment would come. The Defiance was not just a ship. It was a symbol. It was proof that humanity had survived. It was a promise that they would never give up. The ship's AI spoke in a calm female voice. The crew called her Liberty. "Captain, I am detecting significant fleet movements throughout the sector. Multiple species are responding to our presence." "Understood, Liberty," Morrison replied. "Begin recording everything. History is watching." Morrison looked around his bridge at his crew. These people were the best humanity had to offer. They had trained their whole lives for this mission. Their parents and grandparents had died dreaming of this day. "All hands, this is the captain," Morrison announced over the ship's communication system. "Today we return to the galaxy that tried to destroy us. Today we show them that humanity is not so easily killed. Today we begin the fight to reclaim our place among the stars." The Defiance moved forward through space, its quantum engines leaving a trail of blue light. After 3 centuries of hiding, humanity had returned, and they were ready for war. Admiral Korvash stood in the command center as massive flagship. The insect-like alien was tall and covered in black armor-like skin. His forearms moved quickly over different control panels. His red compound eyes showed no emotion, but inside he felt something he had not felt in years: fear. "Play the transmission again," Korvash ordered. The voice filled the command center. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Defiance. We have returned." Korvash's mandibles clicked together. He had been there when Earth burned. He had personally watched the human homeworld turn to ash and fire. Every human colony had been destroyed. Every human ship had been hunted down and destroyed. There should be no humans left alive. "Sir," said his aide, a smaller insect creature, named Vex, "how is this possible? We killed them all." "Apparently we did not," Korvash said. His voice was like grinding metal. "Send word to all hegemony fleets. We have unfinished business." On the Federation diplomatic ship Harmony, Ambassador Lirel prepared for the most important meeting of her life. She was an ethereal, a species known for their wisdom and ability to speak with any race. Her pale blue skin glowed softly in the dim light of her quarters. Lirel had studied human history for years. She knew about their wars, their art, their dreams. She had always felt sad about their destruction. Now she had a chance to meet a real human. "Ambassador," her assistant said, "through the communication system, we are approaching the human ship." Lirel took a deep breath. "Open a channel." The main screen showed the bridge of the human ship. A woman with short brown hair appeared. She wore a blue uniform with commander's stripes. "I am Commander Lisa Grant of the U.E.'s Defiance," the human said. "You wanted to speak with us?" "I am Ambassador Lirel of the Federation," Lirel replied. "We thought your people were extinct. How did you survive?" Lisa's face was hard, but not unfriendly. Some of us escaped before Earth fell. We've been building and preparing ever since. For 300 years? Lyral asked. Where have you been? In the dark space between the stars, Lisa said, building ships, training soldiers, learning everything we could about our enemies. Lyral felt a chill run through her. You've been planning revenge? We've been planning survival, Lisa corrected. The hegemony tried to wipe us out. We made sure that could never happen again. Deep inside the Defiance, Dr. Helen Walsh worked. In her laboratory. She was a thin woman with gray hair and smart green eyes. Around her, dozens of screens showed data about their ship's systems. Helen was the ship's chief scientist. She had spent 40 years developing new technologies. The Defiance was not just bigger than other ships. It was completely different. How are the adaptive shields working? Asked her assistant, a young man named Tom. Better than expected, Helen said with a smile. The system learns from every attack. Each time an enemy fires at us, our shields get stronger against that type of weapon. Tom looked confused. How is that possible? Quantum mechanics, Helen explained. Our shields exist in multiple states at once. When they're attacked, they collapse into the state that best resists that attack. It's like having a shield that can change into exactly what you need. Helen had also worked on their weapons. While other races used simple energy beams, humans had developed antimatter lances. These weapons could cut through any known shield or armor. Back on the bridge, Captain Morrison watched as Federation ships gathered around them. He could see dozens of different species. Some he recognized from old databases. Others were new. Sir, said Lieutenant Amy Barnes from her communication station. Admiral Vises wants to speak with you directly. Morrison nodded. Put her through. The elegant ethereal appeared on the main screen. Her large silver eyes studied Morrison carefully. Captain Morrison, she said. I am Admiral Vises of the Federation Fleet. We need to talk. I'm listening, Morrison replied. The hegemony is mobilizing their forces, Admiral Vises said. They're bringing everything they have. Why did you come back now? Morrison was quiet for a moment. Because we're ready. Ready for what? To finish what they started, Morrison said. 300 years ago, they tried to destroy humanity. They failed. Now it's our turn. Admiral Vises looked worried. Captain, a hegemony has thousands of ships. You have one. Morrison smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Quality over quantity, Admiral. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Ryan Clark made final adjustments to the quantum cores. The engines hummed with power that would have been impossible with old technology. Ryan, his assistant Pete asked, are we really going to fight the entire hegemony fleet? Ryan wiped oil from his hands. Pete, this ship was built for one purpose. To show the galaxy that humans don't give up. Ever. But there are so many of them. Numbers don't matter, Ryan said. What matters is who wants it more. And trust me, nobody wants this more than we do. The quantum engines could make the Defiance move in ways that seemed impossible. The ship could change direction instantly, stop and start without warning, and even teleport short distances. On the Federation command ship, Admiral Vises met with her officers. They were from different species, but they all looked worried. What? Do we know about human military capability? She asked. Captain Norg, a bear-like alien, checked his datapad. Very little. Their last war was 300 years ago. This ship uses technology we don't understand. Should we help them? Asked Commander Krill, a fish-like creature. Admiral Vises thought carefully. The Federation stood by when the hegemony destroyed Earth. Maybe it's time we made up for that. Mistake. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, hegemony ships began moving toward the human vessel. Admiral Korvash had called in favors from a dozen species. His fleet grew larger by the hour. "Sir," reported Vex, "we now have 200 ships moving toward the target." "Good," Corvash said. "This time we will make sure no humans survive." But Corvash did not know what he was facing. The Defiance was not just a ship. It was the result of 3 centuries of human anger, determination, and genius. Every system had been designed by people who had lost everything and refused to give up. Back on the Defiance, Morrison addressed his crew over the ship's communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. In a few hours, we will face the same enemy that destroyed our homeworld. They think one ship cannot stand against their fleet. They're about to learn how wrong they are." Morrison paused, looking out at the stars. "We are the children of Earth. We are the last free humans in the galaxy. Today we show them what happens when you try to destroy an idea. Today we show them that humanity will never surrender." The crew cheered. They had waited their whole lives for this moment. They were ready to fight. They were ready to win. Or die trying. The Defiance moved forward into space, its engines leaving a trail of blue quantum fire. Behind them came the Federation fleet, finally ready to stand with humanity. Ahead waited the Hegemony, confident in their numbers. But they had never faced anything like the Defiance. They had never faced humans who had nothing left to lose and everything to prove. The space around the gas giant Hefto 7 filled with ships. Admiral Corvash's Hegemony fleet stretched across the void like a metal cloud. 200 warships of different sizes and shapes. Destroyers, cruisers, and the massive Devastator class. Battleships that had once burned human worlds to ash. Corvash stood on his command deck, his 4 arms working different controls. His red compound eyes watched the tactical display. One small dot represented the human ship. It looked so tiny, compared to his mighty fleet. "All ships report ready," announced Vex, his aide. "Shall we begin the attack?" "Not yet," Corvash said. He wanted to enjoy this moment. Open a channel to the human ship. "I want to speak with them before they die." The main screen showed the bridge of the Defiance. Captain Morrison appeared, his hard blue eyes staring directly at Corvash. "I remember you," Morrison said quietly. "You were at Earth." Corvash's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. "Yes, I was there when your pathetic world burned. I watched your cities turn to glass. How does it feel to know you will join them?" Morrison's face did not change. "It feels like justice is finally coming." "Justice?" Corvash laughed, a sound like breaking metal. "You have 1 ship. I have 200. Where is your justice now?" "You're about to find out," Morrison said. Then the screen went dark. On the Defiance bridge, Morrison turned to his crew. "All stations report ready?" "Weapons ready," said Major Tony Rivera from the weapons console. Tony was a stocky man with black hair and steady hands. He had trained his whole life for this battle. "Shields at maximum," reported Lisa Grant. "All defensive systems online." "Engineering reports all systems perfect," added Amy Barnes from Communications. Morrison nodded. "Liberty, begin recording. If we don't make it through this, someone should know what happened here." "The ship's A," I responded in her calm voice. "Recording. Started, Captain. All crew members are at battle stations." Morrison looked out at the enemy fleet. "Today we fight for every human who ever lived. Today we fight for Earth. Today we fight for the future. All weapons fire at will." The Defiance moved forward like a hunting shark. Its quantum engines let it change direction instantly. The ship twisted and turned in ways that seemed impossible. Hegemony weapons fired at empty space as the human ship danced between their shots. Tony Rivera's fingers moved over his weapons controls. Antimatter lances, full power. Beams of pure energy shot from the Defiance. They were brighter than stars. and hotter than the center of suns. The first beam hit a Gemini destroyer. The alien ship simply vanished in a flash of light. "Direct hit," Tony shouted. "Target destroyed." Korvash could not believe what he was seeing. His sensors showed the human ship moving at impossible speeds. It would appear in one place, fire its terrible weapons, then vanish and appear somewhere else. "How are they moving like that?" demanded Vex. "I don't know," Korvash snarled. "All ships, concentrate fire on that target." Hundreds of energy beams and missiles flew toward the Defiance. But the human ship seemed to know where every shot would go. It moved between the attacks like it was dancing Dot in the Defiance's laboratory. Dr. Helen Walsh watched her adaptive shield system work. Every time an enemy weapon hit their shields, the system learned. The shields changed to better resist that type of attack. "Incredible," she whispered to her assistant Tom. "The shields are actually getting stronger with each hit. How is that possible?" Tom asked as the ship shook from another impact. "The quantum field adjusts itself," Helen explained while checking her readings. "Each attack teaches the system how to defend better. We're becoming immune to their weapons." On the bridge, Morrison watched his ship tear through the enemy formation. The Defiance moved like a living thing, striking and moving before the enemy could respond. "Sir," reported Amy Barnes, "I'm picking up Federation ships on long-range sensors." "Admiral Vises is bringing her fleet to help us." Morrison smiled grimly. "Tell her to stay back. We can handle this." But even as he spoke, Morrison knew this was the hardest fight of his life. The hegemony ships were starting to learn. They were firing in patterns, trying to trap the Defiance. Lieutenant Commander Steve Murphy led a team of Marines through the ship's corridors. Steve was a big man with scars on his face and hands that knew how to fight. His team carried weapons that most aliens had never seen. "Sir," said one of his Marines, a woman named Kate, "are we really going to board enemy ships?" Steve checked. His weapon. "If we get the chance." These bugs need to learn what happens when you mess with humans. The Defiance's weapons fired again. Another hegemony ship exploded. Then another. Tony Rivera worked his controls like a master musician. Each shot found its target. Each target died. But there were so many enemies. For every ship they destroyed, 10 more took its place. The hegemony fleet surrounded them like a metal storm. "Shields at 60%, Lisa reported. "We're taking heavy damage." Morrison gritted his teeth. "Ryan, I need more power." In the engine room, Chief Engineer Ryan Clark pushed the quantum cores to their limits. The engines screamed with power beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Pete," Ryan shouted to his assistant, "reroute power from life support to shields." "Sir, that's dangerous," Pete replied. "Everything we're doing is dangerous," Ryan said. "Do it." The Defiance's shields flared brighter. The ship's weapons fired faster. And still the enemy came. Korvash watched another of his ships die. The humans were killing his fleet, but slowly. His numbers would win in the end. "Sir," reported a bridge officer, "the Federation fleet is approaching." Korvash's eyes blazed with anger. "Fire on them too. Anyone who helps humans is our enemy." The battle grew larger. Federation ships joined the fight, their weapons adding to the storm of energy. But they used old technology. Their weapons barely scratched hegemony armor. On the Defiance, Morrison realized they were running out of time. His ship was strong, but not strong enough to fight the entire hegemony fleet. "Sir," Amy said urgently, "I'm picking up a massive energy signature. Something big is coming." Morrison's blood ran cold. On his tactical display, a new contact appeared. It was huge, bigger than anything else in the battle. A hegemony super dreadnought. A ship designed to destroy entire planets. "Captain," Lisa said quietly, That's the World Breaker. It has enough firepower to crack a moon. Morrison stared at the massive enemy ship. It bristled with weapons and carried enough missiles to destroy a solar system. This was what the hegemony used when they wanted to make sure nothing survived. All ships, Korvash broadcast on all frequencies, witnessed the end of humanity. Again, the World Breaker's main gun began to charge. Energy gathered at its bow like a tiny star. When it fired, nothing would survive. Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was scared but determined. They had come so far. They had shown the galaxy that humans could not be destroyed, but this might be the end. "Sir," Tony Rivera said quietly. "Orders?" Morrison thought of Earth. He thought of all the humans who had died. He thought of the children on the generation ships who would never see their homeworld again. "We came here to send a message," Morrison said. "Let's make sure they hear it loud and clear." The Defiance turned toward the World Breaker. One small ship against a weapon that could destroy worlds. The last free humans in the galaxy refusing to surrender even when death was certain. Behind them, a Federation fleet watched in amazement. These humans were either the bravest creatures in the galaxy or the craziest. Maybe both. The World Breaker's main gun glowed like a small sun. Energy gathered at the massive weapon's tip, enough power to crack a planet in half. Admiral Korvash watched from his flagship, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. This time, the humans would truly be extinct, but Captain Morrison had other plans. "Ryan," Morrison spoke into his communication device, "I need everything the engines can give us. Everything." In the engine room, Chief Engineer Ryan Clark's hands flew over his controls. "You got it, Captain." "Pete, disconnect all safety systems. We're going full power." "Sir, that could cause a quantum cascade," Pete warned. "Then we better make this count," Ryan replied. The Defiance's engines roared to life with power beyond their design limits. The ship shot forward like a bullet, moving faster than any vessel in the galaxy. It aimed straight at the World Breaker's charging weapon. On the Hegemony Super Dreadnought, alarm screamed. "Sir," an officer reported to the ship's captain, "the human vessel is on a collision course." "Impossible," the captain replied. "They would have to be insane." The captain did not understand humans very well. Morrison gripped his chair as the Defiance accelerated. "Tony, target their main gun. Hit it with everything we have." Major Tony Rivera smiled grimly. "With pleasure, sir." The Defiance's antimatter lances fired at point-blank range. The beams struck the World Breaker's charging weapon just as it prepared to fire. The result was spectacular. The Super Dreadnought's main gun exploded in a chain reaction. Energy meant to destroy planets turned inward. The massive ship tore itself apart from the inside. In seconds, the Hegemony's most powerful weapon became a cloud of expanding debris dot the shockwave threw the Defiance backward like a toy. Sparks flew across the bridge as systems overloaded. "Damage report," Morrison shouted over the noise. "Shields at 20%, Lisa Grant reported. "We lost 2 weapon systems and the main sensor array, but they were alive." And the World Breaker was gone. Across the Hegemony fleet, panic spread. Their most powerful ship had been destroyed by a single human vessel. Officers who had been confident minutes before now stared at their screens in fear. "Impossible," Admiral Korvash whispered. "That ship was unsinkable." "Sir," Vex reported, his voice shaking, "we've lost 37 ships. The humans have only lost shield power." Kovash's compound eyes burned with rage. "All ships ramming speed. Destroy that vessel at any cost." But the Hegemony fleet was no longer fighting as one. Ship captains began to hesitate. Some started to retreat without orders. The human ship seemed unstoppable dot on the Federation command vessel. Admiral Vises watched the battle with amazement. Her pale blue skin glowed brighter with excitement. "How are they doing this?" asked her tactical officer, Captain Norg. "I don't." "No," Admiral Vises replied, "but we should help them. All ships, attack the hegemony fleet." The Federation vessels charged forward. Their weapons were older and weaker than human technology, but they had numbers. Energy beams and missiles added to the chaos of battle. On the Defiance, Lieutenant Commander Steve Murphy got his chance for action. A damaged hegemony cruiser drifted close to their ship, its hull cracked open. "Captain," Steve reported over. "Communications, requesting permission to board that cruiser." Morrison looked at the enemy ship. It was still dangerous, but barely alive. "Permission granted. Show them what human Marines can do." Steve led 20 Marines through the airlocks onto the enemy vessel. The aliens inside were not prepared for what they faced. Humans had spent 300 years preparing for war. Their weapons were advanced, their armor was strong, and their fighting spirit was unbreakable. The Marines moved through the alien ship like a force of nature. "Contact front," shouted Marine Kate Wilson as insect-like hegemony soldiers appeared in the corridor. The aliens fired their weapons, but human shields absorbed the energy. Human weapons fired back, and the aliens fell. Steve's team advanced room by room, deck by deck. The hegemony soldiers had never faced humans in close combat. These creatures fought with a fury they had never seen. Every human seemed worth 10 alien soldiers. "Sir," one of Steve's Marines reported, "we've reached their bridge." Steve looked through the doorway at the enemy command center. Alien officers cowered behind their consoles, their weapons forgotten. "Surrender," Steve ordered in the hegemony language. The aliens looked at the armored humans with terror. These were not the same humans they had fought centuries ago. These humans were harder, stronger, and absolutely fearless. The alien captain dropped his weapon. "We surrender." Meanwhile, communications specialist Kelly Jordan worked frantically at her station on the Defiance. Kelly was a smart young woman, with quick fingers and a keen ear for signals. "Captain," she reported, "I'm intercepting hegemony communications. They're talking about something called Final Protocol." Morrison's blood turned cold. "What kind of protocol?" Kelly listened too. More transmissions, her face growing pale. "Sir, Admiral Korvash is ordering his fleet to retreat, but he's preparing some kind of weapon, something aimed at the Federation capital world." Morrison realized what was happening. Korvash was planning to destroy billions of innocent people. Rather than admit defeat, the Federation capital held 50 billion citizens from dozens of different species. "How long until the weapon fires?" Morrison asked. Kelly's fingers flew over her controls. "I'm tracking the energy signature." 12 minutes, sir." Morrison looked at his tactical display. The Federation capital was too far away. Even with their quantum engines, the Defiance could not reach it in time to stop the weapon. Unless ... "Ryan," Morrison called to engineering, "can we create a controlled quantum explosion?" Ryan's voice came back immediately. "Yes, sir." "But it would destroy the ship." Morrison nodded slowly. He had known this moment might come. "Prepare the quantum cores for overload." "Sir?" Lisa Grant turned to look at her captain. "What are you planning?" Morrison stood up from his command chair. "The only thing we can do. If we overload our quantum cores next to Korvash's weapon, the explosion will destroy it before it can fire." The bridge went quiet. Everyone understood what Morrison was saying. They would have to sacrifice themselves to save the Federation capital. "Sir," Tony Rivera said quietly, "there has to be another way." "There isn't," Morrison replied, "but that's okay. We came here to send a message. This will be the loudest message of all." Morrison activated the ship's communication system. All hands, this is the captain. In a few minutes, we will save 50 billion innocent lives. Our families would be proud. Around the galaxy, beings watched the battle. Some were enemies, some were allies, and some were neutral. But all of them saw the same thing. One small human ship, surrounded by enemies, choosing to sacrifice itself. For others. Set course for Admiral Corvash's flagship, Morrison ordered. Maximum speed. The Defiance turned toward the enemy fleet. Its quantum engines blazed brighter than ever before. The ship raced toward its destiny, carrying the hopes and dreams of a species that refused to surrender. Behind them, the Federation fleet followed. They could not save the human ship, but they could honor its sacrifice by fighting on. Ahead waited Admiral Corvash and his terrible weapon. In minutes, one of them would be gone forever. Morrison looked around his bridge one last time. These people had given their lives to make this moment possible. They were the best humanity had to offer. For Earth, Morrison said quietly. For Earth, his crew replied. Admiral Corvash watched his weapon charge with grim satisfaction. The planet killer was his final card, a weapon of pure destruction hidden in his flagship's belly. If he could not defeat the humans in battle, he would make sure the galaxy remembered why the hegemony was feared. Sir, reported Vex, the weapon will be ready to fire in 8 minutes. Good, Corvash said. Target the Federation capital. 50 billion deaths will teach the galaxy not to side with humans. But on his tactical display, a single contact raced toward his ship. The human vessel moved faster than anything should be able to move. Its quantum engines burned like blue stars. Sir, an officer called out, the human ship is approaching at impossible speed. Kovash's compound eyes focused on the display. All weapons, fire on that ship. Destroy it now. Energy beams filled space around the Defiance, but Captain Morrison's ship moved like a living thing. It twisted between the attacks, racing toward Corvash's flagship. On the Defiance bridge, alarms screamed as systems overloaded. Chief Navigator Paul Anderson worked frantically at his controls. Paul was a quiet man with steady hands and perfect aim. Captain, Paul reported, I have a firing solution. We can hit their weapon directly. Morrison nodded. How long until we reach the target? 3 minutes, sir. Morrison looked around his bridge one last time. His crew worked with calm determination. They knew they were about to die, but their faces showed no fear, only pride. Ryan, Morrison called to engineering. Status on the quantum overload? Chief Engineer Ryan Clark's voice came back over the communication system. Cores are ready. Captain, when you give the word, we'll create the biggest explosion this galaxy has ever seen. In the engine room, Ryan and his assistant Pete made final preparations. The quantum cores hummed with deadly power. One command would turn them into a miniature star. Ryan, Pete said quietly, my family is on Earth Station 7. Do you think they'll ever know what we did here? Ryan smiled sadly. Pete, the whole galaxy will know. We're making sure of that. Meanwhile, Dr. Helen Walsh worked in her laboratory, recording everything. Her scientific instruments captured data about their weapons, their shields, and their quantum technology. Tom, she said to her assistant, upload all our research to the Federation databanks. Make sure they get our shield technology. Tom's fingers flew over the controls. Why, Doctor? Because somebody needs to carry on our work, Helen replied. Humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy shouldn't die with us. On the bridge, communications specialist Kelly Jordan sent a final message to the Federation fleet. Her hands shook slightly as she typed. Message sent, Captain, Kelly reported. I told them everything we learned about hegemony weaknesses. Morrison smiled. Good work, Kelly. You might have just saved the galaxy. The Defiance raced closer to Corvash's flagship. Enemy weapons filled space with deadly energy, but the human ship seemed blessed by fate. Every shot missed by inches. "Sir," Lisa Grant reported, "we're almost in range." Morrison stood up from his command chair. "All hands, prepare for impact. It has been an honor serving with you." Around the ship, 800 crew members stood at their posts. They were engineers, scientists, soldiers, and explorers. They were the children and grandchildren of Earth's survivors. And they were about to make the ultimate sacrifice. Lieutenant Commander Steve Murphy and his Marines had returned from their boarding mission. They stood ready for whatever came next. "Sir," Steve reported, "the enemy cruiser is destroyed. Marines ready for final orders." "Stand by, Steve," Morrison replied. "This is going to be a rough ride." Admiral Corvash finally understood what the humans planned. His mandibles clicked with fear as he realized the truth. "They're going to ram. U.S.," he whispered. "Stop them. All ships. Protect the flagship." But it was too late. The Defiance burst through the enemy formation like a comet. Its antimatter lances fired one last time, cutting deep into Corvash's ship. "Now, Ryan!" Morrison shouted Dot in the engine room. Ryan Clark pressed the final control. "For humanity." The quantum cores overloaded in a cascade of pure energy. The explosion was brighter than a star and more powerful than a supernova. It consumed the Defiance instantly, then reached out to grab Corvash's flagship. The Hegemony Admiral had one last moment to realize his mistake. He had thought humans were weak because they cared about others. Now he understood that caring made them stronger, not weaker. The explosion vaporized both ships. A planet-killer weapon died before it could fire. 50 billion innocent lives were saved by the sacrifice of 800 humans. The shockwave raced outward, destroying dozens of Hegemony ships. The surviving aliens fled in terror, their fleet broken and their admiral dead. In the silence that followed, Admiral Vises looked at the expanding cloud of energy where the human ship had been. Her silver eyes filled with tears. "Record everything," she ordered her crew. "The galaxy must know what happened here." 6 months later, Ambassador Lirel stood before the rebuilt Federation Council. Representatives from hundreds of species listened as she read from a message found in the Defiances. Final transmission. "We didn't return for revenge." Morrison's words echoed through the great hall. "We returned to prove that some things are worth dying for. The galaxy is worth saving, even if we're not here to see it." The Council voted unanimously to establish the Morrison Accords, a new charter guaranteeing the rights of all species. Never again would the galaxy stand by while one race tried to destroy another. But Lirel knew something the Council did not. Deep in the archives of the Defiance's transmitted data, she had found construction plans, blueprints for new ships, new weapons, and new hope that far beyond the edge of known space. In the dark between the stars, construction lights began to shine. Generation ships that had hidden for centuries started to build. The Defiance had carried more than weapons and shields. It had carried the future. Children who had never seen a planet worked alongside their parents and grandparents. They built new ships based on the Defiance's design. They trained for the day they would return to reclaim their place among the stars, humanity's. Exile was not over, but neither was their story. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. You can destroy a world, burn a civilization, and scatter a people across the void. But you cannot kill an idea. And the idea of human freedom would never die. In the wreckage of the Great Battle, Federation salvage teams found something remarkable. A piece of hull plating from the Defiance somehow survived the quantum explosion. On it were carved 3 simple words: "Earth remembers everything." The plate was placed in a museum on the Federation capital world. Beings from across the galaxy came to see it. They read the words and remembered the ship that had saved them all. Some visitors were former enemies who had learned to respect human courage. Others were allies who had gained new strength from human sacrifice. All of them understood the same truth. Humanity had returned to the galaxy not as conquerors, but as guardians. They had shown that the strongest weapon in the universe was not antimatter or quantum energy. It was the willingness to die for others. And somewhere in the dark between the stars, that lesson was being taught to a new generation. Children learned to build ships and fight battles and explore the unknown. They learned the history of Earth and the meaning of sacrifice. Most importantly, they learned that being human meant never giving up hope. The hegemony was broken. The Federation was reformed. And humanity was coming home. The defiance was gone. But its message would echo through the ages. In a galaxy full of wonders and terrors, one truth remained constant. When evil threatened the innocent, when darkness covered the stars, when hope seemed lost forever, humanity would be there, because that's what humans do. They protect those who cannot protect themselves. They stand guard against the night. They light candles in the darkness and refuse to let them go out. The galaxy was a better place because 800 humans chose to make it so. And in the end, that was the greatest victory of all.
The stars looked different from the observation deck of the Commonwealth diplomatic vessel. Sam Gardner pressed his hand against the cool glass, still unable to believe he was actually in space, traveling faster than light. After years of humanity, wondering if they were alone in the universe, the answer had arrived 3 months ago in the form of an enormous ship appearing in orbit around Earth. Still can't get used to it, can you? Olivia Dixon joined him at the window, her military posture relaxed for once. Like Sam, she wore the simple gray jumpsuit provided to all human representatives. Not really, Sam admitted. He was a Navy lieutenant back on Earth, but rank seemed meaningless here among beings from 17 different planets. I keep thinking, I'll wake up, Olivia nodded. 20 of us picked from billions. Sometimes I wonder why they chose us. The ship's internal lighting dimmed slightly, signaling the transition to night cycle. Most of the Commonwealth species followed a similar circadian rhythm to humans, which scientists back home found fascinating. Lieutenant Gardner, Sergeant Dixon. The voice came from behind them, high-pitched and musical. They turned to see Zexala, the Commonwealth ambassador. She resembled a tall, slender human with pale blue skin, large eyes and delicate fingers with an extra joint. I hope you're finding your accommodation satisfactory. Yes, Ambassador, Sam replied. Everyone has been very welcoming. Zexala's mouth formed what they had learned was a smile, though it looked more like a grimace to human eyes. I'm pleased to hear it. The Council wishes to speak with all human representatives tomorrow. We have reached a decision regarding your evaluation process. After she left, Olivia leaned closer to Sam. Evaluation process? That's new. Maybe it's just a formality, Sam said. But he felt uneasy. The next morning, all 20 humans gathered in the council chamber. It was a vast circular room with seats arranged in rising tiers. Representatives from each Commonwealth species sat in their designated sections. Sam noticed how the environmental conditions varied in each area. The reptilian Sorex sat under heat lamps, while the amphibious Vorlians had a constant fine mist spraying over them. In the center stood Zexala, flanked by 2 tall bird-like beings with iridescent feathers, the Kreltak, known for their scientific achievements. Humans of Earth, Zexala began, her voice amplified throughout the chamber. The Commonwealth has observed your species for several of your Earth years. We have studied your history, your conflicts, your triumphs. Most significantly, we have analyzed the world that shaped you. One of the Kreltak stepped forward, activating a holographic display. Earth appeared, floating in miniature before them. Your planet is classified as a Class 12 death world, the Kreltak said, his voice like clicking stones. High gravity, extreme, temperature variations, atmospheric toxins, dangerous predators, natural disasters. The conditions that shaped your evolution are remarkable. Whispers spread throughout the chamber. Sam exchanged glances with Olivia. Death world. Earth had always just been home. Few sentient species evolve in such hostile conditions, Zexala continued. Those that do develop unique traits. Before we can consider Earth's admission to the Commonwealth, we must understand these traits better. The second Kreltak spoke up. Your physical capabilities are concerning. Your endurance, strength relative to size, tolerance for toxins and radiation, these exceed Commonwealth averages significantly. Sam noticed some of the smaller species, particularly the gelatinous MXA, quivering in what might have been fear. A Vorlian representative rose from the misty section. His skin was smooth and greenish with gills fluttering at his neck. The issue is not merely physical. Your psychological profiles show alarming resilience. Where most sentient species evolved, to avoid danger, humans seem to seek it out. You voluntarily engage in activities that risk injury or death. You call this adventure or sport. Sam almost laughed but caught himself. He hadn't realized that rock climbing or surfing might seem bizarre to alien species. Therefore, Zexala announced, the Council has decided that a practical evaluation is necessary. 20 human candidates will participate in a standard survival assessment on a neutral planet. This will help us understand your capabilities and determine if humans pose any risk to the Commonwealth harmony. A murmur of surprise passed through the human group. Kevin Lee, a park ranger from Colorado, whispered, Survival test? Like camping? The assessment will last 30 planetary cycles, Zexala continued. You will be transported to Navaris 7, a moderate environment by Commonwealth standards. You will be provided with standard emergency equipment and must navigate from the drop point to the extraction point. Your progress will be monitored at all times. Images appeared in the holographic display, purple-tinged forests, rolling hills, and what looked like a savanna with red grass. Doesn't look too bad, Olivia whispered to Sam. A tall, imposing figure stood from the upper tiers. Unlike the others, he wore what appeared to be armor, black and reflective. His skin was gray with ridges along his skull. I am Security Director Kravzak, he announced, voice deep and rumbling. I must emphasize the importance of this evaluation. The Commonwealth has encountered Death World species before. The results were unfortunate. Sam felt the mood in the room change. There was fear here, hidden beneath the diplomatic language. A smaller alien with 6 limbs approached the humans after the briefing. He introduced himself as Meptu, a Vorlian scientist. Please understand, he said quietly, glancing around as if worried about being overheard. This test is very important. Some council members are concerned about admitting a species with your capabilities. We're just people, Sam said. We're not looking for trouble. Meptu's large eyes blinked rapidly. That is what concerns them. You don't even recognize your own dangerous potential. Later, as the humans prepared their gear, Sam pulled Olivia aside. Did that feel strange to you? The way they kept talking about Earth like it's some hellscape? Olivia nodded, checking the alien equipment they'd been issued. It resembled camping gear, though the materials were unfamiliar. And did you notice how some of them seemed almost afraid of us? She added. I heard 2 technicians talking about betting odds on our survival rates. Sam frowned. Betting odds? They think we might not survive? Maybe it's more serious than camping after all. The next day, the humans were loaded into transport vessels. Through the viewport, Sam watched Navaris 7 grow larger, a blue-green world with swirling white clouds, not unlike Earth from a distance. As they prepared for landing, he overheard 2 Kreltak speaking quietly. They have no idea what they're walking into, one said. This will determine if they're too dangerous to join us, replied the other. Sam felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. He caught Olivia's eye, and her expression told him she'd heard it too. Whatever this standard survival assessment was, it wasn't standard at all, and the Commonwealth was more afraid of humans than humans realized. The transport touched down on a grassy plain. As the doors opened, the alien sun bathed them in purple-tinted light. The test had begun. The air of Navarus 7 smelled like mint and copper. Sam took a deep breath as he stepped onto the alien soil. Around him, the other 19 humans were doing the same, some looking nervous, others excited. The purple-tinged forest lay ahead, its trees tall with spiral patterns on their trunks. "Everyone gather round," called Dr. Lisa Miller, a survival expert who had been appointed as the unofficial leader of the human group. She held up the alien device they'd been given, which displayed a three-dimensional map. "The extraction point is approximately 50 miles northeast. We have 30 days to get there." Olivia examined the emergency pack she'd been issued. It contained what looked like water purification tablets, nutrient bars, a thin metallic blanket, and some kind of multi-tool. "Not exactly generous with the supplies, are they?" They said this is what any Commonwealth citizen would receive in an emergency situation, Sam replied, testing the weight of his own pack. "Seems pretty basic." Kevin Lee, the park ranger, was studying the map. "The terrain doesn't look too difficult. Some forests, a river crossing, and those hills near the end. I've guided tougher trails back in the Rockies." As they made final preparations, a small Commonwealth shuttle hovered nearby. A blue-skinned face peered anxiously through the viewport. Ambassador Zexala. Her voice came through their communication devices. "Please proceed with extreme caution," she said. "The wildlife can be unpredictable. The terrain may be treacherous. If you find yourselves in danger, activate your emergency beacons immediately." The humans nodded politely, but Sam noticed several of them hiding smiles. The ambassador's warning seemed excessive given the peaceful landscape around them. After the shuttle departed, Dr. Miller suggested they split into 4 groups of 5 to cover more ground and improve their chances. Sam and Olivia joined with NASA engineer Aaron Walsh, xenobiologist Dr. Alan Reeves, and meteorologist Paula Grant. "Let's establish some goals," Aaron suggested as they began walking toward the forest. 5 miles today, get the lay of the land, find water, and set up camp before dark." They reached the edge of the forest within an hour. The trees were widely spaced, with soft moss-like growth covering the ground. Sam noticed small creatures scurrying away as they approached. Nothing. Larger than a squirrel with 6 legs and furry bodies. "I wonder what they're so worried about," Olivia said after the 3rd warning call from the Commonwealth observation team. "This is practically a nature walk." "Maybe the other species aren't built for walking long distances," Dr. Reeves suggested, examining a leaf with interest. "Most of the Commonwealth representatives I've seen seem to have different physical capabilities than humans. By midday they had covered nearly 3 miles and found a stream with clear water. After testing it with their equipment and finding it safe, they refilled their water containers. This was classified as difficult terrain," Paula said, referring to the briefing they'd received. "I'm starting to think our definitions of difficult might be very different." As they continued, Sam noticed small drones occasionally visible through the canopy above. "We're being watched closely," he pointed out. "I'd be curious too if I thought we might not survive this," Aaron replied with a laugh. By late afternoon, they had exceeded their 5-mile goal. The forest had grown denser but remained navigable. When they set up camp in a small clearing, they were surprised by another communication from the observation team. "Human Group 3, you have traveled an unexpected distance today," said a nervous voice they didn't recognize. "Are you experiencing fatigue or distress?" "We're fine," Olivia answered, exchanging amused glances with her teammates. "Just setting up camp for the night." "You have traveled 8.3 kilometers in 1 day. This is concerning." After the communication ended, the humans burst into laughter. 8 kilometers? Paula wiped tears from her eyes. "That's nothing. I walk that much just shopping at the mall back home." Dr. Reeves looked thoughtful. "I think we need to reevaluate what this test is about. They're not seeing if we can survive. They're genuinely surprised by what humans consider normal." The night passed uneventfully. The temperature dropped slightly, but nothing compared to camping in the mountains on Earth. They took turns keeping watch, though none of them had seen anything dangerous. In the morning, they contacted the other human groups via their communication devices. All reported similar experiences. Easy terrain, worried observers, and no significant challenges. Group 2 made it across the river already, Sam told his teammates after the call. They said it was only waist deep with a gentle current. The aliens apparently thought it would take days to figure out how to cross. They broke camp efficiently and continued northeast. By midday, they encountered what the map had marked as hazardous terrain, a rocky slope with some loose stones. It took them less than 20 minutes to navigate it safely. "I'm beginning to think the Commonwealth has very different physical capabilities than we do," Olivia said as they rested at the top. In the observation station orbiting Navaris 7, the mood was tense. Security Director Kravzak paced before the wall of monitors showing all 20 humans making steady progress across the planet's surface. "This is impossible," he growled. "We're 3 days in and not a single casualty. The MXA models predicted at least 30% attrition by now." Ambassador Zexala seemed more relieved than concerned. "Perhaps we misunderstood their capabilities. They seem well adapted to this environment." "Too well adapted," Kravzak insisted. "Look at them. They're not just surviving, they're enjoying this." On one screen, Sam and Kevin were shown laughing as they helped each other over a fallen tree, an obstacle the Commonwealth scientists had calculated would require tools and significant time to overcome. On another screen, Dr. Miller's group had fashioned spears from branches and caught fish from a lake, supplementing their rations efficiently. "The problem is fundamental," said MEP2, the Vorlian scientist. "We designed this test based on what would challenge Commonwealth species. But these humans, they evolved in conditions we can barely imagine." Kravzak's eyes narrowed. "Then, perhaps we need to adjust the parameters. If this test doesn't show us their true nature, we must create conditions that will." Back on the surface, Sam's group had made excellent progress. By the evening of the third day, they had covered nearly 20 miles. They made camp on a ridge overlooking a valley where they could see the river they would reach the next day. As night fell, Olivia watched strange glowing insects float through the air. "You know what's weird? I don't feel like I'm on an alien planet anymore. It's almost like home." Sam nodded. "Maybe that's what scares them, what they call a survival test we call Wednesday." In the distance, thunder rumbled across the purple sky. None of them knew that above them, Kravzak was activating the planet's weather control systems. "Let's see how they handle extreme conditions," he said, as the first raindrops began to fall on the unsuspecting humans below. The rain started gently but quickly became a downpour. Sam woke to water dripping on his face. Outside their shelter, lightning flashed across the purple sky, followed by thunder that shook the ground. "Everyone up," he called, grabbing his pack. "We need better cover." The 5 humans scrambled to gather their belongings as the wind tore at their makeshift camp. Dr. Reeves pointed to a rock formation nearby. "There, we might find an overhang." They ran through the mud, rain lashing at their faces. The storm had appeared from nowhere. The weather had been clear when they went to sleep. At the rocks, they found a shallow cave just deep enough for all of them to squeeze inside. "This isn't natural," Erin said, wringing water from her hair. "The atmospheric conditions we observed earlier couldn't produce a storm this severe, so..." "Quickly," Paula nodded, her eyes on the lightning striking with unnatural precision around their previous campsite. "It's targeted. Someone's controlling the weather." In the observation station, Kravzak watched with satisfaction as the humans scurried for shelter. "Now we'll see their true nature when faced with real danger," he said. But the junior analyst, Trillix, a small, green-skinned being with large eyes, looked troubled. "Director, this exceeds protocol parameters. The test was approved for natural challenges only. I merely accelerated a weather pattern that was already forming," Kravzak replied smoothly. "Observe how they react when truly tested." On the surface, the humans were not merely surviving, they were adapting. Sam's group had quickly organized their cave, creating drainage channels to keep water away from their sleeping area. Olivia had fashioned a rain collector from her metallic blanket, providing fresh water. By morning, the storm had passed. The group emerged to find the landscape altered. Trees down, new streams formed, mud everywhere. Check in with the other groups, Sam suggested, and Olivia activated their communication device. The news was mixed. No one had been seriously hurt, but 2 groups had lost equipment. Most concerning, Group 4 reported they were cut off by a new ravine that had appeared overnight. "This is deliberate," Sam said after the calls ended. "They're making this harder, on purpose." "But why?" asked Dr. Reeves. "They invited us to join the Commonwealth. Why try to make us fail now?" Aaron was examining broken branches nearby. "Look at these. The breaks are too clean. Some of these trees were weakened before the storm." They decided to continue toward the extraction point, but to be more cautious. As they traveled, they noticed other strange occurrences. Fruit that had been safe to eat was now causing mild allergic reactions. Paths that should have been clear according to their maps were blocked by fallen trees. By midday, they reached the river and found it had swollen to 3 times its normal size. Group 2 had crossed easily days before, but now it was a raging torrent. "We'll need to find another way across," Paula said, studying the rushing water. Sam noticed something glinting in the water, metal objects moving against the current. "Look there. Those aren't natural." They found a place to observe safely and saw what appeared to be mechanical fish swimming upriver. One leaped from the water, revealing sharp, metallic fins. "They've introduced artificial predators," Dr. Reeves said quietly. "This is becoming dangerous." In the observation station, debate was growing heated. Ambassador Zexala had joined the monitoring team and was clearly displeased. "This was meant to be an evaluation, not a death sentence," she told Krevzak angrily. "The Council authorized a standard planetary survival assessment, not whatever this has become." Krevzak remained unmoved. "We needed to see how they respond to true challenges. So far, all 17 remaining subjects continue to survive. Their resilience is concerning." "Concerning?" Zexala's voice rose. "It should be impressive. They're proving themselves worthy allies." "Or dangerous enemies," Krevzak countered. "No Commonwealth species could withstand what they're enduring. And look, they're coordinating between groups now." On the monitors, the humans had indeed begun to work together across distance. Groups 1 and 3 had established a rope system over the river, helping each other cross safely despite the mechanical predators below. They had discovered the artificial nature of their challenges and were adapting their strategy. Back on Navaris 7, Sam's group made camp on the far side of the river, joining with Group 1. The 10 humans sat around a small fire, comparing notes. "It's not just survival anymore," said Ben Carter, a wilderness guide from Group 1. "They're testing our limits, pushing to see how we break." "But why?" asked Dr. Miller, who had a bandaged arm from an encounter with a thorny plant that hadn't been thorny the day before. "Fear," Olivia suggested. "They called Earth a death world. Maybe they're afraid of what that made us." Sam was drawing in the dirt with a stick, making a map of their progress and the obstacles they'd faced. "If they're changing the rules, so can we? We're ahead of schedule despite everything they've thrown at us. I say we push harder." "Like turn their test into a competition?" Ben grinned. "See how fast we can reach the extraction point despite their tricks?" "Exactly," Sam nodded. "They expect us to struggle for survival. Let's show them how humans really handle challenges." The next morning, the combined group set out at a brisk pace. They no longer followed the suggested route on their devices, but created their own path, avoiding areas where they suspected traps might be set. In the observation center, alarms began to sound as the tracking system struggled to predict the humans' movements. "They've gone off course," a technician reported. "They're taking a route through the Western Highlands, an area we classified as too dangerous." Kravzak leaned forward, watching the screens with growing concern. "What are they doing? That area has unstable terrain and predator nests." Trilix, who had been analyzing the humans' communication patterns, looked up from his station. "Sir, I believe they've realized the test conditions have been altered. They're no longer treating this as a survival exercise." "Then what are they treating it as?" Zexala asked. The junior analyst's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Based on their communication, patterns and behavior, They appear to be treating it as a recreational challenge. A game. On the surface, the humans had begun singing as they hiked, taking turns carrying each other's packs to rest tired shoulders. When they encountered a field of what appeared to be poisonous plants, they turned it into a competition to see who could devise the most efficient way to clear a path. 10 points for style, Olivia laughed, as Ben used a fallen branch as a pole vault to clear a particularly nasty patch. None of them noticed the small drone hovering nearby, transmitting their laughter back to the increasingly disturbed Commonwealth observers. "They're enjoying this," Kravzak whispered, his voice a mixture of awe and horror. "We've created the most challenging survival course possible, and they're treating it like entertainment." Zexala stepped back from the monitors. "Perhaps we've been asking the wrong question all along. Not whether humans can survive in the Commonwealth, but whether the Commonwealth is ready for humans." Day 10 of the test arrived with a strange silence. No birds called in the trees. No small creatures scurried through the underbrush. Sam woke early, instantly alert to the change. "Something's wrong," he whispered to Olivia, who was already awake and scanning the forest. Throughout the camp, the other humans were stirring, each sensing the unnatural quiet. They had traveled far the previous day, pushing through difficult terrain and making better time than anyone expected. Now they were just 15 miles from the extraction point, days ahead of schedule. Ben pointed to their water containers. An oily film floated on the surface. "Check your water," he called out. Everyone did. All the water they had collected from a stream the previous evening now showed the same contamination. Dr. Reeves carefully sniffed his container. "Some kind of synthetic compound, not natural. They've poisoned the water supply," Dr. Miller concluded, her face grim. This test just became more than a game. In the observation station, tensions had reached a breaking point. Ambassador Zexala confronted Kravzak before the entire monitoring team. "This is an outrage. You've introduced a biocontaminant without council approval." Kravzak stood tall, unrepentant. "These humans have shown capabilities beyond our models. We must know how they handle true crisis. By poisoning them?" Trillix's voice shook with emotion. The junior analyst had grown increasingly distressed by the treatment of the test subjects. "This violates every principle of the Commonwealth." "It's a mild toxin," Kravzak insisted. "It will cause discomfort, not death. We need to see how they function when truly tested." On the surface, the humans were already working on solutions. Two groups had merged into one large camp, pooling resources and knowledge. Dr. Reeves and Aaron had collected samples of the contaminated water and were using their limited equipment to analyze it. "It's targeting our nervous system," Dr. Reeves concluded. "Similar to some neurotoxins on Earth, but engineered specifically for mammals." Two of the humans had already fallen ill. Jack, a mountain climber, and Diane, a botanist. They lay in the shade fighting fevers as their companions tended to them. "This is beyond testing," Sam said as the group leaders gathered. "They're actively trying to stop us now." "But why?" Paula asked. "What are they so afraid of?" Olivia had been quiet, watching the tree line where she had spotted a drone earlier. "Because we're passing all their tests. Think about it. They called Earth a death world. They expected us to struggle with basic survival. Instead, we've treated it like a camping trip." Sam nodded slowly. "And that scares them more than if we'd failed. The humans decided they needed to find clean water and a treatment for those affected. They split into small search parties seeking alternative water sources and plants that might counteract the toxin." Sam and Olivia headed deeper into the forest, away from the monitored streams. As they walked, Olivia suddenly grabbed Sam's arm, pointing to a small device nestled in the branches of a nearby tree. "Another monitoring drone," she whispered. "But this one's different." Sam studied it carefully without getting too close. "It's not just watching us. Look at the transmitter. It's sending data." Olivia's eyes widened. "Or receiving commands." They backed away quietly and continued their search. An hour later, they found what they were looking for. A small spring bubbling from between rocks, far from any mapped water sources. Testing showed it was clean, uncontaminated. As they filled their containers, Sam noticed something unusual, a small light blinking on their communication device. "That's strange," he said, picking it up. "There's a message, but it's not from any of our groups." The message was brief and in text only. "Not all Commonwealth agree with test conditions. Biocontaminant formula attached. Synthesized from local plant with purple stem, 3-lobed leaf." "Someone's helping us," Olivia whispered. Meanwhile, in the observation center, alarms sounded as systems detected unauthorized communication. "Someone sent data to the humans," a technician reported. Kravzak's face darkened with rage. "Who?" All eyes turned to Trillix's empty workstation. The junior analyst was nowhere to be seen. Back at the human camp, Dr. Reeves and Aaron were examining the message and searching the surrounding area for the plant described. Within an hour, they found it. A small shrub with purple stems and distinctive 3-lobed leaves. "If this works," Dr. Reeves said as he crushed the leaves to extract their compounds, "we not only solve our immediate problem, but we learn something important about our hosts." "What's that?" asked Sam. "That they're not united against us. Someone up there wants us to succeed." By evening, they had created a remedy from the plant. Jack and Diane were the first to receive it, and within hours their fevers broke. The other humans took smaller doses as a preventative measure. In the observation station, Kravzak watched with growing frustration as the humans recovered from what should have been a debilitating setback. How did they find the counteragent so quickly, he demanded. Even with Trillix's betrayal, they shouldn't have been able to synthesize a cure so efficiently. Ambassador Zexala's face showed a mixture of relief and something else. Pride, perhaps. "You continue to underestimate them, Director. These humans don't just survive. They innovate. They cooperate. They adapt faster than you can create. Challenges." A new alarm sounded. A perimeter alert from the extraction point. On the screens, 4 humans appeared, moving swiftly through the forest toward the designated landing zone. "Impossible." Kravzak slammed his fist on the console. They split their group. While some stayed to treat the sick, others continued to the objective. "A simple tactical decision," Zexala observed. "One any species might make." "No," Kravzak insisted. "The Commonwealth protocols recommend maintaining group cohesion during a crisis. No species we've ever tested has divided their resources when facing a threat." The ambassador watched the screens thoughtfully. "Perhaps that is why they evolved on a death world and we did not." Down on the planet, Sam, Olivia, Ben, and Paula pushed forward toward the extraction point. They had left their heavier gear behind, traveling light and fast. Their plan was simple: reach the objective, secure transportation, and return for the others. As night fell on the 10th day, they crested a ridge and saw it in the valley below, the extraction point marked by lights, in a wide clearing. They had covered 50 miles of challenging terrain in just over a third of the allotted time, despite all attempts to slow their progress. "We made it," Ben said, grinning. "Not yet," Sam replied, scanning the area carefully. "If they were willing to poison our water, they might have one more surprise waiting." Olivia pointed to movement at the edge of the clearing. "Look there." Large shapes prowled in the shadows, creatures not native to this part of Navaris 7. The Commonwealth had saved their most dangerous challenge for last. "Predators," Paula whispered, "placed right in our path." Instead of showing fear, Sam smiled. "They still don't understand, do they? On Earth, we weren't always the apex predator. We had to learn how to handle threats bigger and stronger than ourselves." Olivia matched his smile with her own. "And how did we do that?" "We did it together," Sam said, as they began to plan their approach. "And we did it using the one thing that made humans the dominant species on a death world." "What's that?" asked Ben. Sam tapped his temple. "We outsmarted them." The predators circling the extraction point were unlike anything the humans had seen on Navaris 7 so far. Large, 6-legged creatures with thick scales and sharp teeth paced the perimeter of the clearing. In the moonlight, their eyes glowed yellow. "I count 8 of them," Olivia whispered from their hiding spot at the forest edge. Sam nodded. They're placed too perfectly. These aren't natural predators. They were put here to guard the extraction point. Paula had been watching their movement patterns. They're working together, coordinating. See how they maintain spacing, never leaving gaps? We need a distraction, Ben said. Something to draw some of them away while the rest of us reach the communication array. The extraction point consisted of a flat clearing with a tall metal structure in the center. According to their briefing, activating this array would signal the Commonwealth transport to retrieve them. Now it seemed the final test was to reach it past these guardians. Sam studied the terrain carefully. I have an idea, but it's going to take all of us working together. In the observation station, all attention was focused on the 4 humans at the extraction point. Even those staff members not assigned to monitor duty had gathered to watch the screens. The humans had surpassed all expectations, and now faced what Kravzak considered the ultimate challenge. These predators are native to the southern continent, the security director explained to the assembled observers. They hunt in coordinated packs and have never been overcome by any single Commonwealth species without advanced weapons. Ambassador Zexala looked troubled. Which we did not provide to the humans. Precisely, Kravzak replied with satisfaction. Now we will see their true limits. On one of the smaller monitors, Trilix was shown in a holding cell. The junior analyst had been detained for his unauthorized communication but showed no remorse. He watched the main screen intently, hope visible on his face. On the surface, the humans were putting their plan into action. They had split into pairs. Sam and Olivia gathered materials from the forest, branches, vines, and stones. Ben and Paula worked with their emergency kits, particularly the thin metallic blankets each had been issued. Remember camping in the Colorado mountains? Ben asked Paula as they worked. That bear that kept circling our campsite? Paula nodded, smiling at the memory. We used sound and light to scare it off, but I don't think that will work with these things. No, but the principle is the same, Ben replied. Predators have instincts. We just need to find the right ones to trigger. Within an hour, they had assembled their tools. Sam and Olivia had created several simple spears, hardening the tips in the embers of a small, controlled fire. Ben and Paula had fashioned reflective devices using the metallic blankets stretched over branch frames. Everyone clear on the plan? Sam asked. When they all nodded, he took a deep breath. Let's show the Commonwealth how humans handle predators. The first stage of their plan began with fire. Using the emergency fire starters from their kits, they lit several small controlled blazes in a semicircle opposite the side of the clearing. They planned to enter from. The flames reflected off the metallic sheets, creating an illusion of much larger fires. Most predatory species fear fire. It seems this was true across galaxies. 3 of the creatures moved away from their positions to investigate the disturbance. 3 down, 5 to go, Olivia whispered. Next came sound. Using their communication devices set to maximum volume and a high-pitched frequency, they created a painful noise directed at another section of the perimeter. 2 more predators moved away, visibly distressed by the sound. In the observation center, the Commonwealth watchers were stunned. They're using multiple techniques simultaneously, a technician noted with awe. Each targeting different sensory weaknesses. Kravzak leaned forward, his expression intense. They shouldn't know these predators' vulnerabilities. They've had no time to study them. They don't need to, Zexala replied quietly. They're applying universal principles, testing responses, adapting in real time. The final phase of the humans' plan was the most daring. Ben and Paula broke cover on one side of the clearing, making themselves visible. When the remaining predators spotted them and began to move in their direction, Sam and Olivia dashed from the opposite side toward the communication array in the center. The predators, confused by multiple targets, split their attention. 2 followed Ben and Paula, who led them on a planned route past the fires they had created. The flames startled the creatures, slowing their pursuit. The remaining 3 turned toward Sam and Olivia, who were now sprinting across open ground. They wouldn't reach the array before the predators caught them. Now, Sam shouted. In perfect coordination, Ben and Paula used their reflective sheets to direct the firelight directly into the eyes of the pursuing predators. The sudden flash of bright light confused the creatures just long enough for Sam and Olivia to reach the array. Sam slammed his hand down on the activation panel while Olivia stood guard with her makeshift spear. The array hummed to life, sending its signal skyward. "Signal confirmed," came a voice over their communication devices. "Transport, inbound." The predators, recovering from their confusion, began to advance again, but before they could reach the humans, bright lights appeared overhead as the Commonwealth transport descended rapidly into the clearing. When the transport landed and the doors opened, the humans were surprised to see not just the expected retrieval team but Ambassador Zexala herself. "Impressive work," she said, genuine admiration in her voice. "Please board quickly." Once safely aboard and rising from the surface, the humans finally relaxed. Through the viewport, they watched Navaris 7, growing smaller beneath them. "What about the others?" Sam asked, suddenly concerned for their companions left behind at the camp. "They are already being retrieved by another transport," Zexala assured them. "All 16 surviving humans will be reunited on the station." 16? Olivia asked sharply. "We started with 20. Zexala looked uncomfortable. 4 of your number required medical evacuation for various injuries. They are recovering well." The transport docked with the observation station. When the humans disembarked, they found the entire monitoring team waiting, many with expressions of awe or confusion. Security Director Kravzak stood to one side, his face unreadable. In a formal meeting chamber later that day, all 16 humans gathered before the Commonwealth representatives. Ambassador Zexala addressed them. "Humans of Earth, you have completed the survival assessment in record time and with unprecedented success. The Commonwealth Council has reviewed the results and reached a unanimous decision." She paused, looking at each human in turn. "Earth is hereby invited to join the Commonwealth as a full member, with all rights and responsibilities thereof." Murmurs of approval spread through the room, though Kravzak remained silent. "Furthermore," Zexala continued, "we wish to create a new division within Commonwealth exploration initiatives, one led by human advisors. Your species' ability to adapt to unknown environments is unparalleled and could benefit all member worlds." After the ceremony, Sam found Trilix, the junior analyst who had helped them. He had been released from detention with a full pardon. "Why did you risk helping us?" Sam asked him. Trilix's large eyes blinked slowly. "Because I saw what others did not. They thought you dangerous because you survived a death world. I thought you valuable for the same reason." As the humans prepared for their return journey to Earth with news of Commonwealth membership, Olivia found Sam on the observation deck looking at the stars. "What do you think they'll say back home when we tell them their survival test was our idea of recreation?" she asked with a smile. Sam laughed. "They'll probably want to package it as an extreme vacation. Visit Navaris 7, where the locals think you might die but you'll have fun instead." As the ship pulled away from the station, beginning its journey to Earth, the Commonwealth watched with a mixture of trepidation and hope. They had invited Deathworlders into their community. Whether that decision would lead to greater security or unforeseen challenges remained to be seen. But one thing was certain: the universe had become a much more interesting place.